There he is. Pretty sure that's a bass. I don't know, it's giving me a weird feeling now though. I don't know, it's giving me a weird feeling. Yes, a bass hooked in the head. I know y'all been asking me, you see me fish, especially when I'm fishing like a crankbait, really any kind of treble hook bait with a baitcaster. A lot of people have inquired about me free spooling. I don't use the drag on a baitcaster hardly ever. And I'm gonna tell you why I do that as soon as I get my boat still here and we don't blow away to the great abyss. It's blowing like 15 to 20 today on Lake Champlain. So let me get a rod out and I'm gonna show you exactly some of the baits that I use this on and why I do that. One is always a crankbait. I always use it on a crankbait. Really any treble hook bait, jerkbait, top waters. When I get a fish on, you'll notice what I'll do is when I'm fighting the fish, I actually hit the button and I use my thumb as the drag. I don't know, it's giving me a weird feeling. The reason for that is I don't care. People get so emotional when I say this. Like it's nothing against you or your equipment at all. I'm talking about even the equipment that I have. A baitcaster's drag system, it's just not very good. And it has nothing to do with your brand. It has nothing to do with what it's made out of. Just the reel in general is not designed for drag to slip. A baitcaster's drag is designed to lock up and be able to horse and power fish. That's why when we're power fishing, we use baitcasters. Nobody uses a spinning reel. A baitcaster has a much more powerful drag system. It's designed to lock up, to bind. It just doesn't release line smoothly enough. So when I talk about this, when I'm fighting a fish, you know, a fish will make a run, I hit the button. When I get him close to the boat, I can almost predict when the fish is about to run. I'll keep the line tight, and you hear me doing this a lot. I'll do that a lot as I'm fighting the fish to the boat. Giving that fish, using my thumb as the drag to let him pull and go wherever he wants to go. A lot of times people tell me, well, if you got the right rod, well, if you got the right line, well, if you set your drag right, well, if your reel was better. None of that, Daryl. None of that. I got this, boo. This is what works better with a baitcaster with treble hooks. Your rod is only going to give so much. I don't care how soft it is. My cranking rod is designed specifically for treble hook baits, specifically for baits that are going to be skin hooked, little small trebles. It's designed, the power of the action is designed just for that. But it's only going to do so much. If a fish wants to go coon cow out to the bow of the boat, he's going to go coon cow. And my rod power is not going to save that fish from coming undone. It has nothing to do with the size line while I'm free spooling. I got line that'll hold it. My Diamond Products 15-pound test fluorocarbon is going to hold just about anything that I catch. So it has nothing to do with the pound test line. What it has to do with is with a treble hook, those little bitty hooks. You got number 6s, like on this jerkbait that I have here. These are number 6s, I think. Number 6s in the local special. Those little bitty hooks on there, they can only go so deep in a fish's flesh. And it's really, quite honestly, when he takes a lunge, it's easy for these hooks to pull out. They don't have a lot of meat holding them. Even with, you know, I got 9 points on this jerkbait. Somehow it's very easy for them to come off. So what you're doing, when that fish makes a jerk or drag or run, coon cow, I'm giving him the freedom to pull some drag away. He can go. You got to let him go sometimes. So I have complete control over it with my thumb. With the drag system, especially on a baitcaster, if I loosen the drag up to where the fish can actually pull some line off, now when I need to take up some line, I got nothing to go. It won't go because the drag is too loose. I can't pull him. So what I do, this is a formula that I found has worked best for me, has worked flawless. I actually just lock my drag down as hard as I can. Even throwing 10, 12 pound test line, go ahead and lock it down. I don't trust the drag on a baitcaster. I got lures here. Look, we'll go in my rod box. I've got some 13 fishing. This ain't got nothing to do with either of these guys. Let's see, here's one right here. Here's a 13 fishing one. Concept Z, one of their most expensive, one of their higher class, best in show, best materials, space age bait casters. Best they got. Concept Z. Nothing wrong with this reel. It does everything I needed to do. I'd lock it down because the drag, if a fish has enough power to pull the drag, when I go to take up line, after he stops pulling it, my drag is just gonna, I'm just gonna spin and nothing happens. All right, so what I do is I go ahead and lock it down and I use my thumb and I just free spool. He goes to make a run, I let him free spool with my thumb. I can put more or less. I got complete control by just applying more pressure with my thumb or less. It's pretty advanced technique. It takes some getting used to it, but I feel like I spend enough time with a rod in my hand and I'm pretty good at using my thumb for the drag. And so when I go to take up line, a lot of times he'll make a big run and then nothing. When he does nothing, when he makes his big run and he quits, all I got to do is clop and I can bring him a little bit more. He makes another run, I open the drag. Push button, click it back over. Push button, click it back over. Push, I'm right there and I can keep my fish. You notice I lose very few fish on a crankbait. It does take quite a bit of practice. It is some advanced baitcaster techniques that I'm talking about when you're talking about free spooling a baitcaster with a fish on. But if you learn how to use it, I think you'll be a lot more pleased with your results when it comes to fishing treble hook baits, crankbaits, jerk baits, even top waters, some of the bigger top waters where the fish are skin hooked, where you don't have them hooked, because most all your treble hook baits are reaction baits, or all of them are. They're reaction baits, they're moving baits. A lot of times you're making a fish react to take the bait. He doesn't always have it in his face. Sometimes he has it in the top of his head, on the outside of the mouth, or in the tail or something like that. I don't want to be trusting the drag of my mechanical reel in a situation like that. I feel like I have a good sensation of how much pressure to apply the fish, and I use my thumb to correct anything that my rod or my line won't make. Your rod and your reel are only going to do so much. The rest is left up to you. That's why the thumb technique, the free spooling technique, is the way to go when it comes to treble hook baits. Get at me, don't argue with me on this. That's one.